A lot of the stuff is rooted in childhood.
But then you showed up, you did the work, you did the push, and now you can move on with your life.
Yeah, I grew up impoverished, but I made it. I think I started meditating, and I didn't need any of the Xanax. I'd rather go head to head. Being present helps connect you, the other person in the conversation. And when you could connect at a deep level, you could build a very meaningful community. It's important to go on a journey because not everybody gets sit by a rock. Emotional health is a journey. Mental health is a journey. And there's a lot of power in just sitting and breathing in and breathing out. Breathing is so powerful. So powerful. Not pausing is so powerful.
Jared Robin is known as the founder of RevGenius, one of the most successful and impactful communities for sales professionals with over 40,000 active members, and it took Jared and his team a little more than 2 years to actually accomplish this. But our conversation today is not about building communities. You see, founders like Jared and I, we're going through struggles every day, and there are some conversations that shouldn't be about how to build a community and tips for that, and talking about the professional matters, but some unspoken topics like anxiety, loneliness, strive for support, being part of the social group, collaboration, etc. Jared shared his journey battling anxiety, and it resonated with me. And it is the conversation that you want to hear. Thank you for staying for this one. The leitmotif of this season is growth beyond sales. So I line up great guests and we talk about growth and we talk about things that matter, and it not necessarily need to be sales related or something. So, if we want to talk anxiety, we can talk anxiety. We can, because I think that people need examples. People need hear stories. They need to understand that everything is personal, right? And we are just kind of living our lives through some personal examples. So, so
I think what's important to understand is so much of GTM learning is from others, right? Like whether you go to a course, you get real work experience, or you join a community like RevGenius. And all are great, and all are beneficial, and all are important. But there's always external factors, or when I say external, factors outside of your learnings and your professional experiences that help you be successful or not, and that goes into anxiety and challenges, reoccurring mental health, emotional health type stuff that you might have, and figuring it, I don't want to say figuring it out, but putting work towards that. And what's interesting about and I call it emotional health. There's mental health. What's the difference between mental and emotional? Well, the difference between a mental level and emotional level in general is mental is like power of positivity, thinking about something, willing it to happen, pushing through, right? Like so much of the bad stuff in society is romanticized. I grew up impoverished, but I made it. I had this awful thing happen to me, but I came through. I couldn't get into SaaS for 2 years because I had no college degree, and I fought tooth and nail to get through it. And those stories are great, and they're important. So there's one point, think, and we'll go into this, the idea of collaborative growth, why don't we make society and everything better so that you don't have to romanticize these stories? Why don't we make it easier for more people to get more things.
I think it's
and
just because we don't want things to be easy, It's like when something is easy, you don't appreciate it. You just take it for granted. So I think that, we need some grind to then start appreciating things.
Yeah, but life is hard without that. If you're given everything along the way, you might have had a tough upbringing. And so anyway, mental, we have the mental and the emotional is the stuff that sits with you deep down that started in your childhood, like your first 7 years before you even went to school. And that could be a reflection of your upbringing, how your parents were to you or around each other. If you didn't have parents, how that situation played out, being yelled at, or significantly worse, being left alone. Like there's so many things, being asked to be perfect, whatever it is that there are. And if you mind over matter things, it's great. It's big. You see David Goggins doing this, you know what's funny? What's so funny? David Goggins is doing things I won't even try to do.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't think I can. And he gets his mind to a place where he could do it. And he's definitely pushing through. Like his whole book, it's like it's literally using the words, I'm pushing through, man.
Yeah.
Like just a little more, I'm bleeding, doing all this. Okay. And it's romanticized. And then what you don't see is, or what you don't hear as much about, like one paragraph in the book is like, I'm on my third wife. Like, okay, there might be something deeper here, man. Like you might not, just because you could do 10,000 push-ups on a Wednesday and then run 200 miles on Thursday and swim
100 miles, right?
100 miles on Friday. And you're cool throwing up and you eat your throw up because you have no food, doesn't mean that everything's integrated, right? Like, and I'm not saying his stuff isn't, but just, highlighting mind over matter. And he's pushed his body to places beyond belief, and he's maximized this idea. But getting to the emotional state, like emotional health, it stays with you. And there's things that you could do. Meditation is the mode that I'm most successful with, or I have been the most successful with. And meditation, just sitting alone in a room, dark room, breathing in and out. Don't pause. Through your nose, if your nose isn't clogged. If your nose is clogged, do it through your mouth. Like, pretty straightforward. To help yours. And what I feel now, so like we were talking before, I woke up at 3:40 in the morning today, and I frequently wake up to use the restroom in the middle of the night and then go back to sleep. I think a lot of people do that probably.
Yeah.
That's the second day this week. Sunday was the other day that I did this. And why? Like I'm being triggered by something, right? Like it's a tough economy. Cool. I mean, there's a plethora of things that any business owner right now could be triggered by, and there's something in there that I am being. And so from like 5:40, I laid in bed for 2 hours unsuccessfully, to like 6:40, I read and I meditated and got back to that. I hadn't been doing that regularly. And sometimes we just need to fine tune. And what came out, or what I'm realizing as I slow things down, is I'm being awfully hard on myself. Awfully hard. And I'm being awfully hard on myself without any progress to not doing it anymore. So like I'm just like going around in circles now. And I'm like, and this and that, and it starts with work stuff, and then it goes to like my bracelet fell off that my girlfriend got me. How like I forgot my gym workout. Like what else am I going to think about at 6:30 in the morning, right? Work and like what you're going to do outside of work. And I just found reason after reason. And in my head, those reasons were good reasons. Like, yeah, I should do better in them. But like in reality, what the fuck am I doing? Like there's no benefit to doing that. Now, what's interesting is there isn't, but it coming up, so to speak, you know, the emotions, whether I realize what they are or not, like there's definitely signs, like not being able to go back to sleep is a sign.
Yeah.
My head racing around is a sign. Like eventually you need to listen to these signs. Some people, you know, drink or do drugs to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Some people run or power of positivity.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting with them, which is kind of hellish. But consistency with that hellishness makes it subside, and you realize all you're doing right now is speaking to a man with a microphone on a computer, somebody who runs a great business that you respect. And it's Thursday, and it was kind of nice out. I have my dog here. And then you start being more present. So I'm in the process to getting back there, but it's a journey, man. Emotional health is a journey. Mental health is a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's uncover more about the emotional health. There are some obviously thoughts and some questions I wanted to ask you here. Now, the first thing is I appreciate that you showed up and that we are currently talking. You know, I a few days ago I saw this interview, and I rarely watch some stupid interviews on YouTube, but I watched the interview with Andrew Tate and Tucker, both, right? And the thought that stuck with me was that either you're feeling or not feeling, at the moment it doesn't matter as long as you show up, right? So it's like as long as you showed up, it doesn't change the fact of, you being, kind of emotionally happy about it or not happy about it. But then you showed up, you did the work, you did the push, and now you can move on with your life. And then the fact that you showed up showed the strong spirit, the strong character, right? Because it's easier not to show up. It's like I had this. So I had my knee.
Dude, showing up is one of the few things.
Yeah.
For the most part, I don't want to say 100%, but for the most part, we have control over.
Yes. A few days ago, I have a trainer. I'm doing a gym with a trainer, and I have 10 a.m. training with him, and my knee hurts in the morning, and I was like, fuck, I cannot, walk, whatever, but I need to show up for the training. I don't know what I can do, but I need to show up. I can call and cancel. Hey, sorry, my leg hurts. I cannot go. But then what I did, I showed up. We did some exercise that I was sitting along a lot of times, so I wasn't standing. And I was so happy with myself afterwards that I showed up, that I kind of did that, because it was so easy not to show up, right? And I think that consistency about showing up and doing the work is again, you have a control of this, and that helps you to, control your destiny, control yourselves. Now, going back to the, emotional intelligence, just emotional kind of mindfulness or emotions, how long do you have that kind of anxiety problem, or you waking up consistently?
To be honest, probably longer than I remember, because
oh, really?
A lot of the stuff is rooted in childhood.
Yeah.
So I had anger problems, and it wasn't necessarily like anger to 99% of people. Like around my family, it would just get triggered.
Mm-hmm.
I remember once I couldn't sleep in the middle of the night, and I had a sheetrock wall in my bedroom in high school, and I put my fist through it. I'm like, why punch through something in the middle of the night? Because you can't. Why punch through something? Period. At any age, but especially because of that. So there was some stuff peppered around, and the interesting thing is, it's easy to not recognize what's wrong if you're doing well. It's easy to not recognize you're doing wrong if you're out drinking often and having fun with friends. It's easy to like subtly run from things without realizing that you're doing it. So I had a lot of great experiences. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't address a few certain things. When it first came out in a debilitating way, I was probably 29 or 30 years old. And it also was when I worked for a seed startup after like a Fortune 100 company. So I went from everyone knowing our name, being in President's Club, having a career path planned out for me because I was doing well inside the system they created, to not having product market fit, to taking a pay cut, to not making commission because the product didn't work. So picture not having product market fit with a product that doesn't work. So like, even if you could figure out how to get it placed, it's hard to, and actually that could have been a reason why it was hard to get product market fit, because the product didn't work. That's always a sign. And I wasn't getting paid on time, my meager salary. And add into that a recent breakup with a girlfriend. Like, we were living together, so it was a little heavier than not, I guess. There's a picture that I posted a couple times on LinkedIn about me living in an office building.
Yeah.
After all of this, I got extremely nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking of the past and thinking I didn't know what was next. And because it was my first role in SaaS and the product didn't work, so like I wasn't really making a ton of sales, I wouldn't look desirable for another company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also, like, this company's product I believed in, if it did work. Like, I believed in the vision behind it so much. I didn't want to take like a lesser product.
Yeah.
So, and I'm in between like apartments, living in an office building for a couple months, and drinking a lot,
Mm-hmm.
to get the pain away, or my mind away, I should say. And out of nowhere, not out of nowhere. To me, it was out of nowhere. My heart just started racing every day, like severe anxiety. So whatever there was prior in anxiety, let's call it a normal amount. But now my heart wouldn't stop racing. And I couldn't sleep because it was racing at night. So I could fall asleep for like 2 hours, then I'd wake up in the middle of the night and it would keep racing.
Wow.
So I got a book. Well, my dad had tried to get me to read this book called The Presence Process by Michael Brown for a while. And I'm like, Dad, I don't need it. I don't need it. And he recognized my parents were divorced. He recognized that some stuff might have been with me. I was kind of edgy to him and all of this. And not just at that time, but prior times, I should say. Like when I was in college, especially. And I'm like, geez, I have no idea what to do. Like, I took Advil PM a couple nights to sleep through the night. It worked. I got like 6 hours of sleep. So picture like extreme anxiety with sleeping things. It got me sick. So I'm like, I could live life on 6 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
It's not perfect because it's like a downer and then 6 hours of sleep, but okay. And so I started reading this book, and I read it as fast as I could, and it was a hard read because there's 100 pages before you start the process or whatever. And I'm like, damn. And I just start, and I'm like just reading it and like digesting everything. Like, why can't I read faster? Because I need to. And I went to the doctor at the same time, and I said, I think I need Xanax, to sleep. Like within 10 seconds, he looks at me, he goes, you absolutely need anti-anxiety medicine. And I'm like, well, I didn't need this at any other point of my life. This feels like really, like even worse now, like, because why am I progressing and becoming like worse? Like, why couldn't I just be like yesterday or last year?
Mm-hmm.
And then that weighed on me, right? And I'm like, I'm just going to use it to sleep. And I was planning on it, but I also made a point. At that point, I'm reading the book even faster. And I think I started meditating at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't need any of the Xanax.
When was that? How many years ago?
About 10 years ago, give or take.
10 years ago. Okay.
And I stopped drugs and alcohol for 10 weeks, meditated twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
And within a week or two, I was able to sleep 7 hours a night without. And that's like a little less than I could have slept. I was still waking up a little early, but like it was refreshing compared to 2 hours, and I'm starting to live like a normal life. But for the first couple of weeks, I was going to the gym and stuff alone. And oh my God, I got to find this dude that worked at the gym. He was like a lifesaver. Like I just was in my head, this reality I couldn't even be in. I was so humble. Anything I accomplished, it all stripped away. All of it fucking stripped away. Because here I am, so fucking vulnerable. And it's a blessing that I tapped into that vulnerability, because that was real. That was so real. No matter who Jared was, the ego of that. I'm here and I'm fucked right now. And I'm going to just read this book. I couldn't sleep with the lights off for a little bit. I went to my dad's. My dad you see on LinkedIn. Great guy. Strongly recommend connecting with him. And he let me sleep over like a few nights a week. And he would drive me from the city home to make it easier for me. I even went on a date with him, like with somebody I knew, like that he was seeing, to a movie because I couldn't be alone. And he was there for me. And I'm so grateful. And I remember going to a movie in this time with my sister as well. I don't see a lot of movies with my sister anymore, like after 30. So like this was, and I walked out of the theater halfway through because my heart was racing, because we were in a dark theater, obviously. And the emotions were coming up. They were being triggered. And starting to go inwardly, like this whole scene. And the dude at the gym who worked at the gym, not a trainer, just, somebody who helped upkeep the gym. He would be my friend. And he was like the one person, not, there was others, but like, he was like the one person I wouldn't expect to like be there for me. Like when I came in, like he would just talk to me, like stop working and like, you're here, all of this. And that was really fucking cool. I gotta look up his number because it's been a while, a long time. And then his name is Jimmy. And what was so profound, and I'll share one part of this. Another part I don't think is recorded, like, because it got profound. When I stripped all of this away, and I might go to that level again. I will in my life. I don't know if I'm going to do that now. I'll do that if I have to. And if you have to, right?
Yeah.
As things come up,
Yeah.
and I'd rather go head to head. But one thing that came up, so the first 2 weeks of doing this, I'm now sleeping a little better. And when I say doing this, like meditating twice a day, reading a chapter a week of this book that my dad recommended years before. I fucking dove right in. I found out after the fact, not many people like just do what I did, like they ease in, and I'm just like, I can't live like this, and I don't care. Dude, first off, I cried probably, if I didn't cry every night, it was because like I slowed down like my thought process to like dive in.
Right.
It's because I held myself back. I was ready to cry every night because there was like a lot on my heart, like on my mind and my heart. I remember the first time I ever meditated was before. So I did 6 weeks of this before I had this all in thing. And then I stopped. And then all this shit came out. First time I ever meditated, and this might have been a year before, 6 months before. I tried doing it unsuccessfully. First time ever, I'm sitting down on a couch. And I don't need it in my head, right? Like at this time, like everything is good. I'm like, I'm going to follow this book, like good book, whatever. I'm like 10 weeks. I'll do 1 week. I'm like meditating halfway through. I'm like, everything's perfect. They said, turn off the lights. I'm turning off the lights. They're saying, wear comfy clothes. Check, check, check. Like I got it all. I had roommates at the time. They weren't in the apartment. Blah, blah, blah. I'm on a couch. Have my phone next to me, keeping track of the time. Halfway through, I'm like, oh, I feel good. I feel good. Like this meditation thing's good. You know, like self-validation, right? Like good book. If this is how I'm supposed to feel, like I'm happy I read it. I don't need 10 weeks. I'll just do one. I feel good. Like we'll do 1 week of feeling good and then I'm good. Something happened at about the 7 or 8 minute mark of meditation, and I'm sitting for 15. And what happened was my phone buzzed. Like I got a call or a text and I had it on vibrate. I'm like, damn, that's the one thing I didn't do. I forgot to silence my phone. And then I said, no worries. It's all good. I got this. So I keep breathing, and I'm very in touch with my breath. And I'm trying to like zone in. Then the room gets a little harder to breathe. We're talking in a matter of minutes. Nobody's changing temperature. The world isn't getting significantly warmer. Let's be real. Nothing happens if nobody's in the room different in 5 minutes. 10 out of 10 times. Like something has to happen in that time period. I'm like, let's go with it. And then out of nowhere, I started crying, bawling. And I'm like, oh my God, I need the full 10 weeks. But I only did 6 of them. And actually I said, why am I crying? Or you know, what's up?
Yeah.
And the message that came back to me was like my mom wanting me to be perfect. You know, the whole scene was perfect, but the cell phone buzzed, and I'm like, holy shit, I got the message. Getting the message is everything, and then not killing the messenger, shooting the messenger is the next thing, not reacting. But I did 6 weeks. I stopped for one reason or another. And then when the whole anxiety thing came, let's call it a year later or 6 months later, it came hard. And I think part of it was my ego won because I didn't finish the 10 weeks because at some point I said, I don't need any more.
Right.
And my ego is like, yeah, of course you don't need any more. You got this shit. So because of that, like my ego was like fighting me as well to start it. Like, you don't need this. Ego is like a false sense of protection. It's a false sense of protection. Whatever. But yeah, so I went in. So within the first 2 weeks, that's the whole context. Within the first 2 weeks, after all this anxiety and everything. I'm showing my family like true love, right? Like my dad's helping me here, my sister here, my mom as well. You know, something that goes past like, I love you. Like real humble, stripped down humility, gratefulness. And my mom peed blood right around week 2, and she found out she had a tumor, which was cancerous. The interesting thing about that timeline was it was like 8 centimeters big.
Oh, wow.
And I asked the doctor, I said, how much does it grow every year? He said about 0.8. So I'm like, it's been in her body for 10 years growing. But when I showed her true love, it allowed her guard to go down and imprint her back to show that there was something physically wrong with her. And my biggest regret was, you know, and talking about things coming back around, that, so I did 10 weeks. Then what do you think I did? I did 10 more. I took like a 1 week break or whatever, and I spent 30 weeks that year going inwardly, trying to solve this. And I ended the year in a better place. You know, over the next however many years, I might have done it once a year, but like I went back to drinking, I went back to other stuff. And when my mom, the cancer came back for my mom, when it came back, I was out partying and living life and all of this. Because I got away from the spiritualness of it, and I wasn't meditating every day and doing all this. And my only regret, she passed away. My biggest regret was not being more present. I was present, but I wasn't present in her final 6 or 7 months. And not just that's included, but also not going inwardly, because I do believe, or I'd like to think, I could have had a positive impact on the direction and her outcome had I had another spiritual journey right around that time, because of how interconnected we were. So I haven't drank for the last couple of years. Not that I'm more spiritual than I was at the time, but not that I'm perfect in the least. And this bout today, or this week, or, you know, it's probably seeded itself a little in the past weeks or months, is just something that's been around showing its head again. It's nothing new. It's something that I haven't fully dealt with. There's some similarities from the 10 years ago one, because there's different ones, right? Like, to be clear, there's some similarities to the big one, so to speak. And I remember not dealing with it fully. I dealt with it enough to get through it.
Right.
But I remember still feeling a little something, and I'm feeling it now. So is now the time I do it? I'll let my my body and my mind and my emotion guide me. So full circle.
Yeah. You've been on this journey for 10 years now. For the people listening to this who are just embarking the journey of dealing with anxiety, do you have any message that we can translate to them?
Yeah, I mean, it's anxiety is something that overcomes some people, and some people it's a normal part of their day to day. Some people take medicine for it, some people don't.
But you didn't. You didn't take medicine.
I didn't. And first off, I don't want to say taking medicine is a bad thing. Taking medicine sometimes is a very, very necessary thing. and a very important.
It's a choice, right? You never know. It's a choice.
Yeah, I mean, there's, my partner has to take medicine for some more serious mental health stuff than that, and she has some of that too. But so people with anxiety, like, one, you're not alone. Two, with anxiety or anything that you feel internally, like mental, like emotionally, you need to feel it, and you need to become better at feeling. We all do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power in just sitting and breathing in and breathing out. Breathing is so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. Not pausing is so powerful. And your best effort is enough. It will always be enough. So you not being perfect and getting through it is fine. It's great. And the word through is the coolest fucking word in mental and emotional health. It means that there's another side. So no matter how you feel now, if you stick in, breathe,
Show up
for yourself and get through it. Now, you have to show up to yourself. That's a big thing. And we have to love ourselves. I have to love myself. And it's more than just thinking, I love myself. Oh, I mean, we can get narcissistic with it, but we won't. We shouldn't. It's honestly deeply loving yourself. And to do that, what I've learned, it's to understand the gap in how we were loved. Like, were you abandoned? Were you told you weren't good enough? For you, whatever emotion there is, understand it, like vibrate with it. And there's ways to get to there through breathing, and give the opposite to others. So if you were abandoned, like if your parents were never around growing up, and like that's with you, everybody you see, you're there for. And verbalize it. And telling them that they're doing a great job. The connection you have with people, something as simple as hello, thank you. Like if you go and get groceries, something as simple as how are you doing? Thank you so much for this at the end. And like building that connection teaches us that one, it's great. It's a way to be, but two, teaches us that we're all in this together. And we're all interconnected, and it's true. We think that we're individuals, but we're not. And the sooner that you can get on that same wave, the lighter life will be. Now, you might not get that Maserati that you really wanted or something, because, but you will get everything that you need and that you require, and you'll have abundance.
Yeah, no one never has been happy with having a Maserati and
not alone,
not being surrounded by the people they're loved and support and be social, right? It's just an item, right? I think that the very important from your message is not feeling isolated, not especially right now when we all work from homes, everyone in just it's been harder to date, to meet other people, to date, to be social, right? Because there's so many things that are presented for us right now just in front of us on the laptop, like we are talking, right? So we might hang out with you, have a lot of conversations, but obviously that's not the same as we are in the same room, sharing the energy, sharing the physical contact, shaking hands, being there. So I think that the message is, for people, especially when they have, and again, I never had an anxiety problem, so I cannot relate, but, my point here is just going out there, meeting people, being social, being vulnerable, connecting, right? And being part of the group it's one of the best feeling, right? It's not about being an individualist. Well, obviously it doesn't matter that it doesn't mean that you shouldn't work on yourself, right? You always need to work on yourself, but it's not just about you, right?
Yeah.
And about...
And in fact, it's in the grand scheme of things, we're the only people that think it's about us. From a macro level, nothing can be further from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk.
On the journey of self-reflection, there is a great book by Hermann Gess. I don't know what's the right English. Hermann Gess or Gesse. So it's a German or Austrian writer. The book called Siddhartha. It's the book about the Buddha.
Yeah.
Who was on the journey of someone that wanted to get to the Buddha level. And the spoiler here...
You'll have to send me the book.
Yeah, I'll send you the book. So the idea was that there were two people, one that was looking to become a Buddha, to become a saint.
Yeah.
He was like praying, he was on a journey, he was visiting, he was doing all the things. He wasn't like eating, he was sort of like, he was doing everything that one could to get to the level of Buddha. And there was another guy who was just sitting in front of the river and looking at stones and in the river and just kind of being there, being present in the moment, etc. So obviously the spoiler is who got to the Buddha level, right? Not the one who was looking for that, but the one who was present and staying and just looking through things. Wow. So I'm not going to talk about the plot, but the point here is on the journey of the self-reflection, very
There's
often
a couple messages there. The one when you're going for, let's assume it's a materialist thing, like that's not it. And then, but I do think that it's important to go on a journey because not everybody could sit by a rock and throw it. But I'm gonna get the book. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'll send you the book.
I think I have it right here.
So the point about that was that on the journey of this self-reflection is a very important thing, and you should do that, because if you don't self-reflect, then you're not growing, you're not going anywhere, right? Because it's just kind of stuck and just go circles. So obviously, self-reflecting, working with outcomes, and just pushing yourself it's one human mind too, right? We want it to be better than we are, pushing the envelope all the time. But the point is that on the journey of the self-reflection, too much self-reflection is not good for you, right? Because being present and enjoying the moment, enjoying yourself and enjoying who you are and what you achieved and being happy about it and just not trying to get to the excellent of things, right? Because nothing is excellent out there. And, like you've been building a company, right? I've been building the company or the product. On the outside, when you look at something, you're like, oh, this is amazing product. This is amazing company. Oh, they look so cool. They're so professional. Everything is so, I would love to tap into that. But on the inside, you know how much shit you went through and what's actually working or not, right? And it's not ideal. The same goes with us, right? With our mindset, our emotion. So we cannot be perfect ever, but we can be ourselves and we can be happy about those, right? There was someone who asked me, Michael, what is your dream job, or what would you want to do else, etc.? And I answered nothing. Like, I'm so happy and pleased where I am right now. I have the best company, the best team, the best anything. I mean, do you want to change that to have like billions of dollars and sending, rockets to the moon? No, because I'm not there emotionally. I'm not there mindset, right? So if Elon can do that and he's happy about that or not, that's his thing, right? But changing that to what I have, would just kind of, kill me from the inside, right? Because I'm not ready to go there, right? Like mentally, emotionally, right? People just need to be kind of ready about that. And I think what's interesting about your message was that you've been on the journey and you've got so far. You're still reflecting on things, still in the middle of your journey. You're still kind of looking out and trying to explore it. But this is the journey, right? So you're still continue going. And I think that's what's men do, right? We're on the journey all the time. Yeah. And that's the fun thing about it.
It's, it gets to a point where it's fun. It's never fun in the beginning.
Yeah.
You want things,
especially when you have people supporting you and you have people in your life. And by the way, having people in your life that support you is also a hard work, right? Because very often we take those people for granted, right? And then just building those relationships and nurturing those relationships, it's a hard work. You also need to show up, because if you're not showing up, that's it, right?
The relationships go by the wayside.
Yeah. We always work with outcomes, right? So if I know there was someone in my life that I didn't build a relationship with because that person didn't show up, now, I'm not showing up for that person, right? Because that's it, the relationship's done. But if I know that I wanted to make that connection with people for my rest of my life, and I wanted them to show up for me at the time of difficulties, right? Then I need to build those relationships right now, nurture those relationships, and, appreciate them, right? And never take them for granted. And we need those people in our life, because at the end of the day, it's obviously, being isolated, being yourself is, one of the most scariest feeling out there, right? It's because there's nothing, why do you do that, right? If you're alone on the island, that nothing else matter, right? If you cannot share that with anyone. Did you try traveling yourself, for a long period of time, a month?
No, I never have. I studied abroad, but not for 5 months in one location. Traveled a little while we did that, so a little bit with that, but not all the way.
I usually travel with either friends or girlfriends, but there was time last year when I traveled for 3 weeks alone. That's it. I was alone all the time. At some point in time, you are so hungry for people, connections, and energy that you just kind of start looking them everywhere, just kind of get that, because you cannot enjoy and bounce off experiences of empty wall, basically, right? So all this is the part of the social, we are actually truly happy. So I know maybe, just the message here is, if you're not happy with yourself right now, or just want someone is not right, maybe start to looking for people that you can share the happiness with. And you not necessarily need to be people you're living with or dating or partners, right? But just people at work, right? You can, there's so many people out there that you can share this with, your profession, your hobbies, even, hey, we can talk community, right? Being part of something is important, right? Being part of and I think we miss that. And I think we don't value those relationships. And as sooner you start doing that, as sooner you start valuing those relationships, then the better. One of them, just on a side note here, one of the regrets that I have from one of the first companies that I was with, I was laid off. And there was kind of a scandal, us kind of being laid off. And after that, I lost all the connection with the people I work with, all of them. It's you build a relationship for several years with the people around you, with some of the greatest talented people in your life. And then at one point in time, bam, you lost all the connections. And my regret is that I was at that moment and I lost those connections, because that was something like a part of the life. It's not about the job, it's not about the money, it's about the connections with people that I had at that point in time, right? So whatever I'm doing right now, I never when I build my business, I never think about the revenue that you generate, I made $1 billion to put in the bank or whatever, right? I never think about, hey, I built this product, now this product is there, whatever. What I value the most is the connection and relationships that I'm building, and the value that I'm bringing to other people, and valuing that I have those connections in my life. And that's why I'm trying to be all the time honest with all the people and nurture those relationships and put them in front of the other things that are like Maserati or cars or whatever, because I know that this connection is going to stay with me and they're going to kind of, again, make me the better person. And I'll be happy about those, right? And happy about myself that I have those people in my life.
With connections, we also evolve our connections depending on where we're at with life, right? Like we might gravitate towards different people. Like when I partied, there would be certain people. Now I'm sad that I don't hang out with them as much because I have a different lifestyle. And I realized there were aspects of it that were deep and there were aspects of it that weren't that deep at all.
Yeah.
And then people move and all of this and you lose touch, and it's just it's ever evolving. So being comfortable with yourself is big, and then being able to go and seek new friends, new relationships is good.
Yeah. But I've lived in Italy for some time, and I'm learning the language, and I'm very, inspired by the culture and generally, and, probably I wanted to spend my old days somewhere in Italy, living somewhere like Lago di Garda or somewhere there. And one of the things that I'm fascinated about the Italian lifestyle is that every Friday they meet with friends. So they have Friday dinner where the whole family, whole gang gets together, and they always meet with friends, have a dinner, chat, and they do that throughout their lives. So when they're older, they have relationship that they've built over the years. They have the stories, they have anything, right? So the point, my point here is, we are very busy these days, right? We change jobs, we're moving fast, we are meeting other people. And very often we meet so many people that we just forget that the relationship should be meaningful, right? So we are about to have meaningful relationships, right? And the meaningful relationship, it means the hard work. It means showing up. It means the building of relationship. It doesn't mean that you need to, to hang out with people that are negative all the time, that you always need, that get your energy from you, and then they just need it and they did that. No, because the relationship should empower you and give you the energy and, motivates you and fulfill you, right? But so the point is that I've seen so many people that have a lot of friends, they have a lot of connections, but because they have those connections, it's some kind of a sublime where they feel that they are empowered, fulfilled, but there's no meaningful relationship for them. So what I'm doing right now, and this is to your point that we cannot, hang out with people because of work, I have 3-4 people in my life, my friends that I am invested in those relationships, and I'm not seeking a lot of the true connections and spending time, because I'm nurturing those 3 or 4 connections in my life, because I see that those people empower me, I'm interested in them, and I know that this is the friendship for life and the support that I'm giving them, right? So just my message to people is be open to new connections, right? But always look for meaningful relationships and meaningful connections with people that, again, and it's a hard work. It's not given, right? You cannot just kind of have that.
The best part about this conversation is it's everything away from the traditional GTM, and it's very interpersonal and intrapersonal discussion, and without connecting it too much, this is the heart of community in my mind, collaborative growth, as we're coining it. It's it's understanding the person. It's always been that way, and when you could connect at a deep level, you could build a very meaningful community. And when you're coming from the business's point of view, trying to build a community, it's more challenging, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's possible. You just need to throw the KPIs away, so to speak, and focus on the relationships to an extent. And you could add in sustainability for the planet or for, society as well to the mix, not just other folks, but all folks.
Mm-hmm. I think that why president clubs worked or why book clubs works, because the like-minded people that have the same level of interest, the same attitude to things are getting together with the same sort of like intention, right? For that. So I think that. So first off, like communities as we know right now, and again, you're the best expert on communities that are out there, right? You can talk probably days about communities, but having a collaborative growth and collaborative community, right? This is the final game, the final level, the final boss, right? If you can build that.
Dude, that's why we're kind of redefining it into collaborative growth, because I think there's some really phenomenal community-led growth people and game plans and all of this. I think the difference going to collaborative is, and a lot of community people do this, is like really understanding the person more in any motion that you do and giving them more equity in it, and realizing that they are a stakeholder. The best community folks are doing this already, but like, can't be said for every GTM motion, my friend, right? Like getting down to that level. I mean, you can't afford to with like outbound if you're mass doing whatever, but what if you could? What if the quantity went down? Could you have better results? I mean, there's people like Lavender saying, absolutely, you could. Mm-hmm. And they're just touching on it, but like, that's the sauce behind community. You could get even deeper, and that's where, we're getting to a point where we're getting closer with how to operationalize word of mouth marketing or word of mouth selling. Mm-hmm. Interesting thoughts, but the human is at the middle of everything, and the deeper you get with them, the more likely they'll take a call on anything that you want to talk about, because they trust you.
Can we step back for just a second? Because again, we've talked with you about this already, but then maybe some of the listeners don't understand the terminology behind things, right? So obviously, there is like a community-led growth, right? We have communities, and then there is as you said, the concept of collaborative growth, right? So what is the difference between the community-led growth and then collaborative growth?
So we're in the process of defining it. So community-led growth is a GTM motion leveraging community. Collaborative growth looks at all of the motions, all of everything, and says community, like I'm using the word community, but like the people are important. So like whatever you do, it's more than just community led. It's everything needs to give equity to what you're leveraging for growth. And you need to sustain that, whether it's events, whether it's creators, influencers, other marketing channels, or any channel with a human, right? Because understood that but even the channel, when I say without a human, like you're optimizing ads, you got to give equity to the person seeing them in some way, shape, or form. And the idea is that we can't grow in isolation, just like we've talked about. Companies can't, individuals can't, solopreneurs can't, influencers can't.
Yeah. No one can. Yeah. One of the best things that happened with me was I I have my partners that I'm building business with, right? I was never alone, never. In any crisis, I have someone that I'm sharing something with, right? It was something that we started incorporating very soon, and this is a huge kudos to my head of marketing, Margot. We start bringing on outside people to look at things and helping our guys, our teammates with some of the things that we're doing, like collaborating with them on tasks, right? So if I have an advertising person, right, that person was working within the scope of their work, KPIs, targets, whatever, right? And obviously I couldn't relate and collaborate on some of the things that they're going through, right? We start bringing on external, people on, and they start collaborating, and through the collaboration that they have, sharing the mindset, sharing the things, and building those relationship, everyone start being very happy about their work and where they're going, and that kind of increased the whole retention and the happiness and EPS within the team, etc., etc. So the point that I'm making here is I've been lucky to be part of some of the really great, collaborative communities where I feel valued, but also I kind of show up and collaborate and do the work. And that fulfills me professionally to be able to achieve better things, right? Because now I know that I'm not alone in those things, right? That I kind of can, if I have some ideas, thoughts, struggle, some motion, right? Even again, we met with you through collaboration, right? And we kind of bonded out there, and we can have this conversation about things that actually matter, right? So I wouldn't do that if I am isolated with my business and with my revenue and with my clients and not being part of right? So I think that the message here is then, even though it's not clear, or you don't think about being part of something, or it feels like it's difficult, like that you're alone, like in the middle of the night. But I think that if you just kind of think about this and do some work, you can be part of the group, right? Part of Z, and you can be supported and fulfilled, and there will be growth for you, right? You must have met so many great people, building your community, and I know you travel a lot and you meet with folks for dinner, etc. So, can you give a few examples of like people that, or some, conversations that just shaped you or made you a better person that you've had over this few last years of sort of like, building that network and building those connections?
I've learned from a combination of so many conversations how to lead, how to the evolution of go-to-market, like to look out for some of the most forward-thinking leaders, practitioners in the space. And I've been blessed and grateful. I've had conversations supporting myself and the other person, mutual support, camaraderie, and just helpfulness. I'm just, from a one conversation standpoint, I'm just blessed to have so many, and so many great people that are willing to hop on a Zoom and teach me. And that'll also ask me for help too. That it's mutually beneficial for, and I'm just grateful for that. So from a just one conversation stand out, I mean, it feels like every week I have a conversation that stands out for that week. I figure what I could take and implement quickly, or just plant a seed for something later. I don't have like a cornerstone address, unfortunately.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that say, I read books, right? And I know I read books in my days, right? A lot of those. And there's a difference between actually reading books and reading books, right? And understanding them and living through them and living through characters, right? I think that you and I, as you said, we've been blessed by having access to some of the greatest people and minds and being able to absorb the knowledge and then the energy and self-reflect on a lot of those things, right? But I think on a daily basis, we all are making so many great connections and we are conversing and etc. But we are not putting intent into things and context, and sometimes just skipping through things, right? So you can read a book and skip through things. At the end of the day, you know the plot, you know the characters, you kind of know what's going on, but you didn't get what actually, it didn't get you thinking, what the author tried to tell you that or something, right? So the point is, even through listening to our conversation, right? There are two ways about doing this. Either you can actually listen to this and get some context and sort of like, and get you thinking about stuff that would shape your life, or you can just skim through this, right? And this is the choice of people, being present and being in depth with whatever you're doing, being there is, again, the hard work, right? And so that's kind of, I think, that the message there, right? And you can be shaped and grow only through the hard work and mindfulness that you are putting in each conversation. So valuing those conversations and being present is important, right? So yeah, so my message, I think, being present.
Being present helps connect you with the other person in the conversation. And connection is everything.
Yeah. I think it's a great close.
Do you like the direction of the conversation?
This is the best conversation that I could hope for. And I appreciate you. And I knew what I'm going for. And I think that we did great work. And, you're amazing, Jared.
Did I do okay?
I appreciate you so much. Yeah, absolutely. One of the first thesis that I have on on my notes here is, Jared, you're one of the nicest people I've met. So just, know this when you go through the journey, then, you're great. And you've been present here with me today. And
well, my eyes might have been darting because there was other things going on, but I was listening the whole time.
Yeah, awesome.